Very nice. Now, back to the big story of the year. You heard it here first on Fisherman's Blues that GPs were going to start prescribing angling as an alternative to pills to treat patients suffering from anxiety, depression and other similar mental health issues. That was back in February when we broke the story, and I can now tell you that the innovative NHS trial is up and running. Tackling Minds, an organisation dedicated to using angling as therapy, ran the inaugural session on a Manchester Park lake. And Dave Lyons, the founder of Tackling Minds, is on the line now. Morning, Dave. Isn't it fantastic that the medical profession has recognised and is recommending the therapeutic benefits of fishing that us anglers have known all along?
Yeah, well, I was just going to repeat what you said then. It's amazing because, as we all know, anybody who's been fishing, and any of us anglers already know, we have known the many health benefits that fishing brings, that's for sure. So it's great that it's actually being recognised for one thing, that's for sure.
It's fantastic. And just to put our listeners, I've spoken about it a lot, it's the new, it started in the 80s, but it's called social prescribing. And it's not the doctor saying, you must go fishing. It's prescribing you the great outdoors, whether it be bird watching, simply going for a walk, or taking up gardening, or one of the options is going fishing, which is just fantastic. So
that's basically it. So social prescribing can cover a number of different activities, like you said, be it walking, be it gardening, generally outdoor activities that get people out in the green open spaces. Again, as we all know, that is really beneficial to our mental health. It's getting that daily dose of vitamin D. It's just being outside in the green open spaces. As we all know, it's just, how beneficial that can be.
Yeah, it certainly is. We know that, and you know that firsthand because fishing saved you. You battled your own demons, and you've got first-hand experience of how fishing helped you. Tell us about that, Dave.
Yeah, well, I used to go fishing probably in my teens, and there was a huge gap in between. I was at university, I never went then. I moved to Australia, I didn't do any type of course fishing out there. For some reason, I sort of kicked myself that, I never continued with my fishing. And unfortunately, I was struggling from really bad mental health. So I suffered with generalised anxiety, which sort of being, I suppose you could say, like afraid to be outside, being around groups, just for no particular reason. I didn't have any triggers. I was really an outgoing, confident person, and that crept up on me and progressed to a point where I started to self-medicate with alcohol. That led me on a really dark path, which led to alcohol addiction, and that really got a grip of me, and that's been a number of problem for a number of years now. So lucky, I'm on the better side of that now, and through fishing, through finding my fishing again. As we all know, anybody who's been fishing, you never lose that love for it once you've started. It doesn't matter if you've had 5, 10, 20 years break from it. It's always there with you, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. Well, I'm glad you came back to it, but it puts you in a good place because the people you're working with, you've got first-hand experience and you can empathise with them. And before we go on to the first people who were prescribed fishing on the National Health that you've been working with, since setting up Tackling Minds, you've already been working with military vets. And I know from first-hand experience of how fishing can be beneficial to treating post-traumatic stress disorder. Tell us about the work you've been doing with them, Dave.
So I got in touch with the group of Army veterans from an organisation called Healthy Heroes, and I saw a segment on the news just of the work the founder was doing, Andy Powell, and he was just explaining, these guys have found themselves in really bad situations, be it mental health issues, addiction issues, homelessness, and there wasn't the services, there wasn't anything there to offer Army veterans. And Andy kindly set up this business called Healthy Heroes that gives people that second chance and that support they really need. So I contacted Andy after seeing his little segment on the TV channel and said, well, this is what we do. We do fishing activities. You know, we're a not-for-profit organisation. You know, we'd love to work with you, and I think your guys would really benefit from what we're doing. And, you know, he said, this is amazing. And, you know, within a matter of days, the guys are coming out fishing with us. Now, the improvement we've seen from each of those individuals that come out has been absolutely amazing, considering I'd say probably 95% of them have never been fishing before. Some of them said they've been fishing but was never like avid anglers. You know, they've really progressed throughout the weeks, and because we've had a bit of media attention of recent, I've been over-listening to the lads, and when they've been interviewed by whatever media source it is, it's been so great to hear how they are benefiting from using Tackling Minds. You know, I don't get to hear that generally first time. I get to speak to them on a personal level, but actually hearing it from the horse's mouth and just to say how much they're getting and the improvement they've seen on a personal level, it's really overwhelming.
I liked the quote from one military vet I read in an article that had been written about Tackling Minds, where he said, "Nobody judges you here."
And that's it. And one of the things that, you know, we do explain to people who perhaps are coming for the first fishing session are a bit unsure, because not everybody, depending on what mental health issue you've got, wants to be in a group situation. Now, we don't necessarily have to put people with a group. You know, we do let people go off and do their own little thing just with our supervision. So, you know, they've still got their own space, and if they want to join us, if they want somebody to supervise and give them that further education when it comes to coaching, there's that to offer them as well.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It really is. And how are you letting GPs know that Tackling Minds exist? What's the link?
So what we found when we set this out is there are quite a number of GPs within the country that are quite aware of social prescribing, as most GPs are. But it's not quite as easy as just to go to your GP and say, look, we offer this fishing service. If you feel like any of your patients or service users would benefit from using a service like Tackling Minds, get in touch. There's quite a lot of legalities involved, and at the minute, we were successful with 17 other organisations in the Rochdale area. We applied for this a fund called the Thriving Community Fund. Now, that's allowed us to employ somebody on a full-time basis who's filling in that gap that the NHS wasn't necessarily filling prior to that role. So there was it wasn't quite straightforward. Yes, they were promoting social prescribing, but it wasn't in place, which we thought was very strange. As I said, but there are some fantastic GPs that are, you know, offering service social prescribing, be it gardening. But yeah, fishing was like very, very few and far between.
Oh, it's great you're there now. Dave, we've got to go for a break, but I want to speak to you a lot more about that. I know you've had some funding for the National Lottery, which must help, and I'd like to speak to you about the reaction of the first people that came along to the Manchester Lake. So we'll come right back to you after that. You're listening to Fisherman's Blues on Talk. Now, back to Dave Lyons. And what I was going to ask you, Dave, is you've received £10,000 in National Lottery funding, which is fantastic, and you've got financial support from Rochdale Council. You've only just formed Tackling Minds last year. Are you hoping to expand and move to other parts of the country?
Yeah, definitely. So the funding that we acquired, which took a lot of legwork to get there in the end, but that's allowed us to purchase our own fishing tackle. So yeah, we've got enough fishing gear to run groups of up to 15 people, with still funds left over that we can only spend on the things we did apply for on the funding application. So, you know, if there's any breakages, if there's any damages, if there's any fishing tackle that we feel is necessary that would improve our groups, at least we've got that funding there to be able to do that. Now, we are looking at expanding on our successful model. I get calls, emails from all over the country from different organisations, be it mental health organisations, members of the NHS, and just general members of the public who feel they would really benefit from tackling mines and getting out fishing on the bank. So it's something we're working at, but at the same time, we don't want to run before we can walk. We want to make sure what we are doing is being run to a high standard, but that's definitely the path we are going down.
Brilliant. And are you working with the Angling Trust?
Yeah, so from literally the first week I set up the Facebook page, I did get a contact from the Angling Trust saying they've been watching some of the work I've been doing, some of the posts I've been doing, and they gave us some really good support just in terms of the setting up side of things, the legalities we need in place, and just talked us through the whole startup process. So they've been really paramount, into helping us get to where we are today.
Oh, that is good. That is great. That is good to hear. And going back to, we've spoken about the military vets you've already been working with, but you historic, your first session at the Manchester Park Lake. Just two questions. How many people did you have come along, and was there any GPs or anywhere from the medical profession to actually see how it went and witness the effects? Yeah,
so it all comes down to the type of service users that are coming fishing with us. Now, the service users coming from the Manchester Hospital, where already an inpatients in a residential mental health unit. Now, our level 2 angling coaches, we are trained to work with vulnerable children and vulnerable adults to an extent, but as the service users was their mental health state was quite complex, probably more complex from what we are trained to and what our guys are trained to. So it was great to have that support from a medical professional on hand as well. Just because you never know from one session to the next what might happen. So it's great just to cover yourself for any eventuality.
Yeah, that does sound good. And what was the feedback? I mean, let's go back to basics. Did they catch much?
Yeah, so we introduced them to 4-metre whips to start with. So we actually broke down the sections of our pole. We didn't really want to introduce them to our full-length 8.5 metre poles, but yeah, we just introduced them to the short pole, and yeah, just a basic tackle, keeping it grassroots. So we put them on fishing maggot on a size 18 up. Each and every one of them caught, and just the camaraderie, the banter, the laughs we were having all day, and the feedback they got from the actual occupational therapist when they got back to the unit was, we've created a real buzz amongst the service users, and they couldn't wait to get back out again.
Oh, that's brilliant. That really is good to hear. And where was it? Where was this lake in Manchester that you took them to?
So it's a club water called Boggart Hall Clough. Now that is run by King William V Angling Society, who have been a massive support. The guy who is the head bailiff down there, a gentleman called Duncan Mottershead, loads of experience in running similar initiatives, and he was the first person to pick up the phone and tell me the do's and don'ts of what I can do and what I need in order to be able to, make these events successful and keeping everything above board. They actually donated some fishing tackle before we got the funding, just so we could get up and running. So they've been a massive support, huge support.
Oh, that is good. And I read it out on the show last week before I'd actually spoken to you, because I'd seen it online. The Angling Direct has been supported you as well. And I understand that Daiwa have too.
Yeah, so, again, just to get support from such organisations like Daiwa or be it Angling Direct is absolutely amazing. And, it's great to see that these more well-established companies, they're helping grassroots organisations such as ours. It's not all about selling thousands of pounds worth of poles. They are actually investing their time, they're investing their money into, to keeping things grassroots and getting people back into fishing, whatever background it is they're from.
Yeah, you're right, and it's nice. I think the real motivation is literally it is wanting to put something back. Like you say, it's not all about selling thousands of pounds worth of tackle. They know the benefits of fishing, and they want to put something back.
Yeah, definitely.
that really is good news.
It's a case of, so if there's any tackle we're short of, I mean, with the funding, we've got to make our funding stretch as much as possible, as you can imagine. So if they're giving us a bit of discount, Angling Direct were kind enough to actually donate a large amount of tackle to us, it just helps us so much in just being able to expand and just to reach more people as well.
Yeah, and I saw when I was looking at your website, like you say, it's awkward for you because this could be such a phenomenal nationwide success, but, you have got to be careful. You walk before you start running. You mentioned that you've got level 1 and level 2 angling coaches.
Yes.
I presume I saw on your website, that you are looking for more volunteers. Without a shadow of a doubt, we're always looking for volunteers. That doesn't necessarily mean somebody who's, with angling experience. That is somebody who just want to come down and help, and at the same time, learn about fishing, and we'll teach them the basics for them, so they become a really great member of ours and somebody that we can rely on in the future. So we are open to volunteers, and it doesn't matter who it's from. Yeah, and I love your strapline. Fishing is not a sport; it's a way of life. Yeah,
and I think that stuck me from day one, to be honest. And as you know, and as all as anglers know, I don't necessarily call it a sport myself, but you understand how much time it takes in your life and how it changes your life and affects your life on a daily basis. It's not just when you're fishing on the water, is it? Your mind's occupied. If it's reading a magazine or watching something on a YouTube video, you're forever learning, or you're forever reading about fishing.
Yeah, it does take up a lot of your time, and it's a great educational tool for youngsters as well.
Definitely.
And how do people find you? If anybody's listening now and thinks I'd like to get involved either as a volunteer or they've got mental health issues and would like to try fishing, where do they find you?
So what we find is people generally find us on our Facebook page, which is Tackling Minds. Alternatively, we're on Instagram, again, Tackling Minds, or you can catch us on our email address, which is fishing@tacklingminds.org.
That's an easy one to remember, isn't it? Fishing@tacklingminds.org.
Yeah, so the email address is there on the website and on the social media channels, and my telephone number's on there if anybody wanted me to contact me directly, just to, if they had any further questions. I'm always happy to speak to anybody.
Great stuff. And you've done a brilliant job on the PR front with, radio interviews, and as I say, a lovely piece in The Guardian, and you've done a great job on that. It's great to see. Keep up the good work. Before I let you go, we always ask our guests a series of quickfire questions. So first up, if you could only fish for one species, what would it be, Dave?
I think it would be breams on natural waters.
Like it. That's a good one. You're the first person to come up with that. I like that. Dream fishing location, home and abroad?
Ooh, I'd say home. It's a place that's not well known, called Withens Reservoir. It's in Bury, next to a water called Elson Reservoir. And it's somewhere that I was introduced to as a child, and as those anglers know, there's always that one place that, brings back them fond memories, and that's one of those places for me.
Like it. And what about, wish list, anywhere in the world?
Anywhere in the world. Well, I did live in Sydney for a good 6 years, Australia. The fishing is obviously a million miles from the coarse fishing that I do back home, but there's a great place it's in Sydney, a place called Botany Bay. You'd be fishing from a pier and you'd be watching the 747s or whatever plane it may be coming into land. So it was just a great scenic setting, and so they bring back fond memories as well.
Sounds good. And you've done a good job of this in the last half hour or so, but tell a talkSPORT listener who has never been fishing why they should give it a go.
Well, I'd recommend anybody to go fishing, be it if they didn't have any mental health issues or not. Just the fact that you're getting out in the green open spaces, in some beautiful settings. And as we all know, getting out in green open spaces is great for our mind and body. It's great to get that daily dose of vitamin D. And just a great new hobby just to keep your mind occupied at the same time. Not only that, you're engaging with people, you're out and about, chatting to some amazing people, so you get some amazing experiences. The list is endless.
Yeah, it certainly is. It certainly is. Dave, it's been an inspiration hearing your story. Congratulations on turning your own life around. But Eve, and fantastic that you're helping do the same for other people. I wish Tackling Minds all the best, go from strength to strength. And wouldn't it be great to think that one day we would be nationwide GPs throughout the land prescribing fishing?
Yeah, 100%. And, that is the vision. And, I'm very driven and enthusiastic. So with the support of the fishing community, everybody is very welcoming. I'm sure we can make this as much of a success as possible.
Let's hope there's a few GPs listening this morning and that the Angling Trust can spread the word. Dave, you're an inspiration. Keep up the good work and please do keep in touch.
I will do. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak about the benefits of fishing and mental health.
My pleasure. I'll tell you what we'll have to do in the future. We'll have to get one of your, I don't know, do you call them customers?
We generally call them service users or participants.
Yeah, one of your participants, that's a better word. One of your participants who come along, we'll have to get one of them on one day to tell us, how fishing is doing it for them. That would be good. But we'll keep in touch. We'll do it again. That's Dave Lyons there of Talking Minds. I'll be right back with much, much more fishing right after this here on Fisherman's Blues.
On DAB+, online, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart